Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. I have my special guest here, my husband Dion, and we are going to speak on a very, I guess, a difficult topic. So if you've seen the news lately or have been on social media, you've seen the story about B. Smith and her husband Dan Gasby and what is going on with her. If you don't know who B. Smith is, she is a model, an author, a restaurateur, very successful woman, very established, and very well known. B. Smith was diagnosed with Alzheimer's about 6 years ago, and her husband has recently come out saying that he has pretty much moved on as far as having a companion, and going as far as moving the companion into the home that him and B live in currently. B lives with the two of them in that home. I've seen a lot of women talk about this topic, but not necessarily men. I wanted to kind of get my husband's take on what he thinks about this situation.
I don't know Mr. Gasby personally. I don't know the contours and the fine points of his marriage to Miss B. Smith. So I'm assuming a lot, and these are assumptions and opinions. However, I think Mr. Gasby put this out in the public space,
Right.
so he can't be surprised that it invoked public opinion. To me, there's two ways you can kind of look at the situation in the traditional Christian sense of marriage, and I guess now the current, opinion of marriage. The vows that most people take at their wedding, while they're not found specifically in the Bible verbatim, they're inspired by principles of marriage and what marriage means. And so the vows that most people take, till death do us part, in sickness and in health, most people, or some people, I guess, take those literally. So during a marriage, if sickness comes, you won't just up and leave your spouse. Another thought is that, for the traditional Christian sense of marriage would be, committing adultery. Mr. Gasby put out there that he's actually living with the person he wanted to move on with in the same house that he was living in with his wife, who is still alive and who is still his wife. Now, once again, just assuming, don't know if Miss Smith said, if I'm too far gone, or if my disease deteriorates to where I don't recognize you and we don't have a full marriage, feel free to go out there and find someone else. If she said that to him,
I don't know. Like I said, they've done interviews. The girlfriend and Dan has done interviews. One recently with The View a few days ago, and Sunny Anderson, she asked him that question specifically. Would B want this? Did she say you can have a whole girlfriend and then bring her into the home and have her would she approve of this? And he never answered the question. He never said yes or no. He pretty much kind of spun around in circles, talking about pretty much how it's so hard for him and how it's tough, and how B has a mind of a toddler, and which that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, he never fully answered the question. So I don't think that's an assumption to say that she wouldn't want that, or she hasn't approved of him having a live-in girlfriend in the home that they share.
So if it wasn't a topic to discuss, I mean, he's making up the rules as
and she has no say, because her mind isn't capable of saying, no, I don't agree with this. And he continued to say that she wants me to be happy. Okay, but does that include you having your girlfriend live in the house where I'm living at as well?
And we're talking about a specific event, and I mean, this isn't a personal attack on Mr. Gasby. Like I said, we don't know him, but we're just using this as a case study, if you will, of this situation happened in in your own lives or on our lives. How would we handle this topic? That's
why I wanted to come and talk about this, because I don't think we've ever really had a discussion about, wow, what if something really bad happens to us as far as health wise? What would we do? What would we want from each other? Even though it's a controversial type of thing, it does really make couples, or should make couples, kind of think like, I don't know what would I want from my spouse if I, God forbid, happen to get sick and can't recover. She has dementia, so she's not. There's no cure or recovery for people who have dementia or Alzheimer's. What would you do in that case? So I think that's very important for couples to kind of talk about and see what they would want from each other. So I know I told him, no, I would not want another woman to be living in a house that we share, point blank, period. I don't think he would want me having a man in the house and he living downstairs and we up in
No. And so I guess getting back to what we're as far as talking. No, you're right on track. Getting back to as far as like the traditional Christian sense of marriage and committing adultery. I mean, technically, that's what's going on there. Yeah. I mean, the whole marriage.
Still married.
Just thinking about it, if sickness and health, that line, this is a sickness, and so if you're not going to support your wife through this sickness fully as her husband, then I don't understand why you're hanging on to the marriage unless there's something else.
And I don't want people to think that we're advocating for divorce. I think he is saying, like, if he feels so strongly, and correct me if I'm wrong, if he feels so strongly about moving on with his life and not being held back, so to speak, why doesn't he just leave all the way and not just kind of drag her along while he's living a whole nother life with somebody else?
Correct.
I've seen a lot of people agreeing with what he is doing, and I am one to, I know how to talk with people or to go back and forth with people, not in a negative way, but who have a different opinion than I do. And I have seen a lot of people saying, you don't know until you're in that situation what you would do, and agreeing with him having a companion and all these things because people need physical touch and people need this and that. I understand that. But what I'm not agreeing with is, if you're going to take that vow, you need to take it seriously. If it says in sickness and in health, it doesn't mean only when you have the flu, only when you have a cold, only when you have something curable that you're going to come back from. That means sickness is sickness, and sometimes that sickness includes sicknesses that aren't curable, that you won't come back from, but you still, when you took that vow, you're still saying that you are going to be there regardless. So when people are saying, well, I understand what he's doing and I would do the same thing, or I would want my spouse to do the same thing. So maybe you need to rewrite your vows and say some sicknesses and in total health, because that's basically what you're saying. You're saying not all sickness, only the sicknesses that, I can bounce back from, or they can bounce back from.
Bringing together what I said at the beginning about the traditional Christian sense of marriage and the more modern sense of marriage is that I think traditional Christian marriages are based on the idea of fidelity, not only faithfulness to your spouse, but faithfulness to what the vows represent. And of course, love is there, right? But the fidelity to the institution of marriage and what it represents is the reason why some of those vows are there, and some of the scriptures that's written about marriage are how they are. It's that whether it's a lack of intimacy, or when you get into those situations of marriage where you're not really happy with your spouse, those in the traditional sense are not reasons to divorce. In the modern sense of marriage, I think it's more geared towards love and affections. And so, a large number of marriages, both, Christian based or religious based and non, and in divorces now. And a lot of people say, well, we don't feel the same about each other. We fell out of love with one another. It just didn't work out between us. We're two different people. And there's not that fidelity to the institution of marriage. And that's fine. Some people don't have the same value or the same thought that marriage means the same thing to each and every person, what that union means. So what I'm saying, I think a lot of the people who are supportive of this situation and what Mr. Gasby is doing have that view of marriage, is that it's something that you enter into with another person, and if it's not working out, you're able to do what you want to do that will make you feel better. And that's what he's doing. He's doing something that makes him feel good, even though his wife is faced with a terrible situation. And the traditional sense, in my opinion, you would suffer through that or struggle through that with your spouse, because that person, you're faithful to that person and the union that y'all made, despite what you may feel and how it makes you feel. And that's tough. That's a tough opinion to have, to say, well, you mean I have to give up my life for someone else who may never come back to be the person that I initially married? Yes. And it's tough. And I think the reason he put it out there is because he knew, or he understood what the perception would be if he didn't say something. So he got ahead of it and put it out there, understanding that there's these two competing, at least these two competing senses of what marriage should be. You know, the traditional adherence to the vows, or the more modern sense is that, you know, people enter into marriages to be happy. And if you're not happy, you know, do something that makes you happy. And so I hope he's happy, I guess. But the question is, and that we can't never really know, is
she happy?
Is she happy?
Yeah.
Would she be happy with this? Is this what she wanted in sickness? Is this how she viewed in sickness and in health? And unfortunately, because of her illness, we may not ever know. But I could imagine, you know, just assuming again, if she came to him, if she became lucid one day and realized, she woke up in her home and realized that there was another woman living in her home, sleeping in the bed, that bedroom or the bed even, that she purchased with her money, that was there for her husband and her to share in marital bliss. And she walks into the room and sees them there sitting or talking. How would she react? How would she feel? And would that be what she actually wanted? If the answer is yes, then Mr. Gasby, you know, continue to do. But if you know the answer would be no, I just find it difficult that you could continue on doing that.
And to touch on what you were saying, I do think he came out with it to seek validation, because I think deep down inside, after being married to somebody, they're married for 27 years. I think he knows deep down that he is not doing the right thing. I think he thinks that he wants to be happy, and he wants to do something to make him happy, but I think he is going about it the wrong way. And I think he wants validation from people. I think he wants people to say, yeah, you're okay. You would do something that I would do. You know, I know it's tough for you. I know it's hard for you. And I think he's seeking that from people to kind of pacify him, in a sense, to say, you know, well, you know, maybe it's not that bad that I'm doing this, but it is bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to be candid. It's bad. It's not good. It's not a good look. And the fact that you're going on interviews, talking about it, and bringing the lady who you're having an affair with, and I guess they're also doing a reality TV show now with this situation, which makes me sad. And I hope that B is not going to be in this reality TV show, because that's just exploitation, and she can't say yay or nay to being on that show. So I don't want him in this situation to taint her name any further, because like I said in the beginning, she's very successful. She's done so many different things, and I would hate for this to kind of taint her legacy in any way. So
it's a very personal subject, but it's not a personal attack on any of the parties involved. We don't know them, but you know, it's been out there, so we wanted to talk about it. Once again, I go back to saying that depending on how they viewed marriage, these two people, these two individuals, and I guess, you know, looking towards the comments, how individuals view marriage, that really turns on whether you find this acceptable or unacceptable in the way that Mr. Gatsby's going about it. And you want to have your cake and eat it too. That's basically what he's doing. He's like, I want to be married. I want to still be connected to Mrs. Smith in some degree. And then I want to have my
own thing.
Yeah. Thinking about the question, I think that's the biggest question that has to be asked. If that person who you're doing this to confronted you, and assume that y'all hadn't talked about it before, y'all haven't done this, but this is the path that you took,
would they be okay
Would they
with
support that? Would
Yeah.
they be okay? And then in the end, if that was you,
Yes.
would you support
Yes.
it? Would you say, this is what I want? Even though we didn't talk about this, I can't say nothing about this, but this is what I want you to do. I want you to have another person in our home, and keep me downstairs, and don't divorce me.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So that's our take on this subject, you guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like I said, it doesn't have to align with ours.
Well, thank you for listening. Like I said, this is Lainey and my opinion. We know everyone's life is different, and some of you may have personal stories and personal events in your life that line up with this.
Right.
So feel free to share and even educate us on the topic, on the disease, and what it does to people, and why you think Mr. Gasby is right or why you think he is wrong. So we welcome all dialogue. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Bye.